Well, it's been a while since I've played this thing, so let me play a few chords to see if I still got it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go! Ah! That just hurt my fingers. I quit. A star is not being born today. What is up, everybody? Random Man here. My apologies if you hear any noise in the background, as, like in my previous video, it is raining / storming outside, but that shouldn't matter as I am here bringing you my review for the 2018 remake of A Star is Born. Now, the plot of this musical romantic drama basically follows a hard-drinking musician, played by Bradley Cooper, who discovers and falls in love with a young singer, played by Lady Gaga, as he bolsters her to stardom. Going into this movie, I was super excited to see it. Not only did it become one of my most anticipated movies of 2018 for its concept, but also for its cast. One of the leads here being Bradley Cooper, and he not only stars, but he also co-wrote, co-produced, and directed this film, this being his directorial debut. And man, what a daunting task to undertake for this being your first film behind the camera. Believe it or not, I've actually already seen this movie way before 2018 even first occurred. I first saw this movie almost 11 months ago at a free early test screening in November of 2017. And what I'll say briefly about seeing a movie that was not entirely complete before its general release with a packed audience, it was a unique experience as we had to go through quite a few things before actually seeing this movie early and for free. We had to sign non-disclosure agreements, we had ourselves searched, our cell phones and other electronics were taken away. It was like we were being processed to go to prison. But seeing this movie early and getting some secret information before the film even got released, that was kind of cool to be able to experience and take in. And apparently those early test screenings went well, judging the feedback that the studio got, including my own feedback, as this movie was supposed to be released in May of earlier this year, but it got pushed back until October, as the studio felt that it would be an early awards contender from all the positive feedback it had received, and it got bolstered by the rave reviews that it has received from the film festivals it has premiered at recently, such as Venice, Telluride, TIFF. That amped up my anticipation to see this film even more, even though I have already seen it, but in its rough stages before its final form, of course. Now, I've mentioned earlier that this is the 2018 remake of A Star is Born, and since I've seen that early cut of this film, I have gone back and rewatched all 3 previous versions of A Star is Born. The 1937 A Star is Born that started it all, starring Janet Gaynor and Frederick Marsh, I think is a pretty good movie. Considering it's over 80 years old, there was some enjoyability to still be had with it. It's the first Technicolor movie to be nominated for the Best Picture Oscar. It's a stunning film that in itself won a special award for its cinematography and the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. The 1954 remake starring Judy Garland and James Mason is my personal favorite of the 20th century versions of this film. Its biggest change from the 1937 version is that it's a musical but still follows closely to the template of the previous film. The 1976 remake starring Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson, I think is easily the weakest version, but that doesn't make it a bad movie by any means. I think it's a decent watch. It also changed up the formula and how the story would be told, as the previous 2 versions were about classic Hollywood, and this 1976 version focused on the rock music industry, which this new 2018 version / 3rd remake / 4th version also focuses on the music industry. But enough chit chat about the history of A Star is Born and my history with this remake before its general release. Let's get into the performances of the film, starting with Bradley Cooper as Jackson Maine. I thought he was superb here. He gives one of his very best performances to date as this down on his luck, substance abusing, and tinnitus suffering musician who is very layered once we get to know his backstory. Then once we get to see Maine meet up with Lady Gaga's character Ally, the two have instant chemistry with one another, which gets into Gaga's performance as Ally. Now, I'm personally a big fan of Lady Gaga. I do consider myself a little monster as well. I think she is a fabulous musician, one of the best singers in the business right now, great voice. And as an actress, I really haven't seen her in much. I've previously seen her in Machete Kills as the chameleon, I believe her character's name was, but yeah, that didn't show much of her acting range. But here, in A Star is Born, with this being her first major lead role, she is fantastic. This role is tailor-made for Gaga, as she is a big name in the music industry right now in real life, and in this movie, she plays a small-time drag bar singing performer that, again, has instant chemistry with Bradley Cooper's Maine once they are first on screen together. But then Gaga's Ally as a character, she also has layers to herself as well, with her opinion on how she was told that she would never make it because of her own appearance, and also the arc she goes through in her star rising. It's a subtle commentary on Gaga's career in real life, and that stuck out to me when I first saw this movie last year. There's also some noteworthy supporting players in this film, such as Sam Elliott as the older brother to Jackson Maine. There's a joke given in the movie about how he looks old enough to be Jackson's dad, even though he's his older brother. And yeah, Sam Elliott looks way older than Bradley Cooper to be his brother. But in any sense, yeah, Elliott, he's a screen legend. He's got that notable deep voice, but also just the emotion he gives to his character and his relationship between himself and Jackson. Wow. Pretty heavy stuff here. I mean, this movie deals with a lot of heavy themes. There's also Andrew Dice Clay as the father to Gaga's character Ally, and this guy is known for stand-up comedic work, which that's before my time, but I've previously seen him in Blue Jasmine, another dramatic movie. I thought he was good there. He's very good in A Star is Born as well. Very funny too. Another funny guy in this movie is Dave Chappelle as an old friend of Jackson Maine's. He's only in a handful of scenes, but Chappelle I thought was exceptional, giving his take on fame and everything attributed with it to Maine at one point in the movie. And this in itself also channels Chappelle's own real life and how he feels about fame. I've also got to give a worthy mention to Anthony Ramos as the co-worker and friend to Ally, who joins her on her rise to stardom, and he was a joy to see on screen. So overall, with the performances here, they are all great, but specifically Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, they are exceptional. The writing in this film, given that this is the third remake / fourth version of A Star is Born, follows the template of what has been done in the past very similarly, though not to the exact extent of what has been done in the past. And what Cooper and his co-writers do with the screenplay is set up a structure that is similar to the 1976 version of A Star is Born. As I previously mentioned, both of these films are centered on the music industry, and the way we see Ally and Jackson start out on different plot threads and them coming together with Jackson drunkenly stumbling into a drag bar where Ally is performing, and oof, Ally performs this beautiful rendition of Edith Piaf's La Vie en Rose, and oof, chills. I got chills watching Gaga perform that. I'll get more into the music later, but what's impressive about Cooper, this being his first time as a filmmaker behind the camera, is how he takes an old story and seemingly also borrows favorite moments of his from the past films and mashes them up to something modern that is accessible to anyone who has seen the previous versions or has never seen any version of A Star is Born as well. One element from the past that is used in this film is the famous line, "Oh, I just wanted to take another look at you," that's in all 4 versions of A Star is Born now. And also just the basic structure and template of one fading star helping a potential star rise up and become big. This is all due in part to the inspired direction from Cooper, both figuratively and literally, as this is, of course, a story that has been told in film before. But the other praiseworthy elements of this movie have to go with its technical merits. Not only is it so focused on a filmmaking level by Cooper, but also with its cinematography, just the way the camera pans around during the big concert sequences. You really feel like you're there, both as a backstage person, but also someone in the audience seeing the performers perform all this music. And wow, just how it is presented, it really makes you so enveloped by the atmosphere that is created. And speaking of the music here, that is, of course, a major element of this movie. And the style of music used here is sort of southern rock mixed with country, which country is not my favorite genre of music to listen to in my free time, but the music here, some of which was contributed to from Cooper and Gaga, wow. Its implementation to the film makes it feel so grand. Songs such as Shallows, which is not gonna leave my head anytime soon, it's so catchy, really capture the spirit of the plot that this movie is going towards, the characters and how they feel, and the overall romantic tone that this movie carries. Like I've said, the chemistry between Cooper and Gaga is electric. And Gaga, it goes without saying, like I've said, she is a phenomenal singer and her voice is so radiant throughout the songs that she sings. And Cooper, surprisingly, is a strong singer as well. Gaga in real life was even stunned by how good his own voice is. Part of that is due to Gaga giving Cooper some singing chops and Cooper giving Gaga some acting chops, which that's awesome to see these two collaborate on that level, and it shows. Did I mention that it's also live singing being done in this film? Yeah, that I remember being told to us at the early test screening for this film, and that certainly permeates here with the final cut. I loved the music here. The movie is well shot, like I said again. The sound design too. In some moments of the movie, we get a sense of how Cooper's character Jackson is feeling in some heavy moments, as again, he has tinnitus in his ears and we hear the ringing flare up. The movie, I also think, is mostly well paced. It runs at about 2 hours and 15 minutes, which the first hour or so of this movie really flies by, and it goes through at such a swift pace, part of it due to some montage sequences, which the movie sparingly uses, as Cooper clearly wanted to show off Allie's rise with such a meticulous manner. But the second half of the film, slower for sure. I mean, that pacing qualm is really the only issue I can think of that I have with this film in retrospect. Some may feel that this movie is a bit too long anyway. It's by no means boring in my opinion, but yeah, we do get to see some of the more bigger moments play out with a much more gradual manner. And without giving anything away, the ending, when it does hit within the last 10 minutes or so, it's similar to what has been done in the past. It's famous for a reason for how the story has been told 4 times now, and it really hits you with an emotional 1-2 punch that when I first saw it play out at the rough early test screening of this movie, I thought it was rushed, but I had never seen any of the previous versions of A Star is Born, so maybe that was in part as to why I thought the ending was initially rushed for this new version of A Star is Born. But seeing this movie in its final cut, we do get to see more development here than what I remember, and then when that 1-2 punch does kick, it really hit home, and it hit me to my core so potently, even though I obviously knew what was going to happen given how this is the fourth version once again of A Star is Born. But still, it's a further testament to how the story plays out, and given how it's been remade every few decades or so for a new generation, it is something that I think has become an instant classic. Simply put, I think it's a story that has been made fresh once again by some filmmakers and stars that are sure to be born out of this movie, and I think it is all in all a tremendous effort on everyone's part. It's a true triumph that is raw, rousing, and ravaging that again really got to me emotionally and has a big impact. I haven't been this moved by a film at least since Won't You Be My Neighbor earlier this year, my favorite documentary of 2018 thus far, and straight up still my favorite movie of the year so far. And you bet yourself that A Star is Born is one of my favorite movies of 2018 thus far. It is sure to be a major awards contender this coming awards season, as all three previous versions of the story have been major awards contenders, and I hope the same happens with this new 2018 version. I'm actually debating in my head right now which version of A Star is Born is my favorite, because I do love the 1954 version with Judy Garland and James Mason, but I think it's a toss-up between the 2018 one and the 1954 one. But either way, comparing it to the past and looking at it on its own, it's still a film that I think is terrific, really an instant classic. Like I've said, I love this movie, one of my favorite films of 2018 thus far. Once again, I highly recommend it. My final verdict for A Star is Born is 4.5 out of 5 stars. One final note before I end this video. If you missed my previous review for Venom, there I gave details about a giveaway contest I am holding. There is still time to enter, so be sure to head on over to that video to find out more. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of A Star is Born, social media links in the description, subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.